So I got this bad boy a few days ago. This is the 8BitDo arcade stick, as you can see here. I played around with it for a little bit, and it's been pretty excellent. I wanted to see if I could demonstrate what it has to offer. You can, of course, see other videos. There's some guy who made a video with a name that I can neither read or pronounce. He did a pretty good unboxing, so I'll spare you that. It does come with this very long USB-C, USB-A cable. I don't know how long that is, but long enough, I would think, for most applications. And it has a few features that I'd like to demonstrate. Let's get to that. So first of all, one of the things it has is an option to wire it in or use their wireless adapter. It also uses Bluetooth, so you technically get 3 different options. This is very similar to the one that they sell for other controllers. Pretty good. I think it'll save you a little bit of battery life if you want to use this instead of Bluetooth, but Bluetooth works pretty good for me, and I don't like having to worry about dongles. If I do need it, it's great that you can just store it in here, as you can see. That's also where you'll plug in the cable. You'll see the USB-C right there, and you can plug it straight into whatever, your PC, your Nintendo Switch, your phone even. You'll see that whenever you turn it on to switch mode, well, you can barely see it, but buttons light up right here. If you look very closely right here, I'm going to switch it from switch mode to X input mode. So watch very closely these letters. You've got B here and A here. Now it's switched from A to B here. You've got right trigger, left trigger, X and Y instead of Y and X, B and A and B. Very cool. So it has lights underneath there. Normally I wouldn't forgive a glossy surface, but they've clearly done this with that in mind. You've got these 2 macro buttons that don't do anything. I don't think they do anything by default, but you can program them using the 8BitDo Ultimate software, which is a huge benefit to having one of these. You can remap any of the controls, so if anything doesn't seem like it's in the right place. I know when you go from a normal controller to an arcade controller, some of the buttons are in orientations that you maybe wouldn't expect them to. Or you've got the option to switch from left stick directional pad to right stick. I tried doing this in Animal Crossing, and it was torture, but actually not as bad as it would be if they didn't have this knob, so that was much appreciated. It pretty much catches any video game that you want to play that might have alternate control schemes. I know you could kind of get up a creek if maybe they only let you use the D-pad, but you've got that option here. Let's see if we can't jump into some games. I brought this bad boy here so we could show you that. Hopefully that wasn't too shaky. Something to note, and I think this is probably normal for arcade sticks, when you're converting from a traditional controller to an arcade stick, is you've got your right button here and your left button here. If you can see very dimly, those lights, they're only really dim. They're kind of dim, but they're only super dim right now because I've got an overhead light pointed directly at them. Right is right here and left is right here. And if you know anything about your left and right, then you know that these are on the wrong sides for your hands, but this is probably normal for arcade stick. You guys would have to let me know. I think it's the same if you switch it over to X input mode. Yeah, we've got right bumper and left bumper. The turbo button works great as well. I think I can probably demonstrate that in Animal Crossing. So it's a bit of torture switching your weapon wheel in Animal Crossing with this arcade stick, but it's probably not something you can say you can do with most arcade sticks. Huge success there. To do that, I would have to switch to D-pad mode, press up, switch back to right stick, left stick, switch to my shovel, for example, press the A button, and then switch back and forth for every time I would need to do that. If I'm menuing, I can just do that normally, whether or not it's in D-pad or left stick, because Animal Crossing allows for that, so that's pretty cool. To get into some turbo button mode, just like other 8BitDo controllers, you would do the hold the button down and then press the turbo button, and then he just goes ham on the ground with the shovel there. And to turn it off, you just make sure you have the button held again and press the turbo button. It'll stop. And you can tell because these lights right here, just like on the other 8BitDo controller, at least the SN30 Pro Plus, it'll start flashing when it's enabled. You can probably kind of see that there. And it's off again. So that's a good way to demonstrate that. There are, of course, macros, which is what these two buttons are for. Using the Ultimate software, you can configure to, I guess, cheat in a fighting game. This counts as the home button. This button right here, you could use to sync up to something else via Bluetooth, like your phone. I would demonstrate that playing something like Mega Man Battle Network, which I have used this for briefly, just to test it out. It works great. Arcade Stick is a great way to play that game, and it works via Bluetooth just fine. I can't record that without an elaborate set of mirrors. Something I haven't actually done yet is open this thing up. They advertised originally that it was very customizable. I didn't see anything about that in the box. I'll be doing that for the first time here. I got a piece of foam I can use to set it on top of its face without leaning too much pressure on the joystick here. I've noticed just now that these screws are not actually Phillips heads, so maybe they do want you to stay out now. I don't know if that's true or not anymore. I'll have to check back on that Amazon listing, but again, it wasn't on the box. I discovered that this does work. It is some sort of Torx bit, T10 it looks like. So let's open it up. Got all the screws out. Let's see if we can pry this bad boy apart. Yeah, it comes apart pretty easy. I kind of thought there'd be a bunch of plastic clips. Be very careful. I don't know if there's anything actually connected under here. Yeah, it looks like the battery is here. I might have to do a little bit of backflips here. Yep, it's disconnected there. There's a cable that I believe goes to the battery, which I believe is... No, these just look like steel plates. This is what gives it its weight, by the way. It is a very heavy, meaty arcade stick. It looks like these are just metal plates here. I don't think that's a battery. This would just go to the USB port then, I guess, and that's what that cable's for. I don't actually see the battery anywhere. Yes, I do. It's under here. I don't think I'm going to take it all the way apart that much. I think everyone can just believe me that there's a battery there. It goes from about here. You can kind of see it in there, that silvery color. And it stops about right here, so it's a battery pack about that big. So this is pretty much what they advertised. It is customizable in that these are quick disconnects if you want to swap out the buttons. I know some people who are into that. You can just pull these off. You'll probably need some pliers. I tried doing it with my hands, but it doesn't really want to move. It's got these nice rubber sheaths to them, so get some pliers to pop those off. Swap out your arcade buttons. They are the quick disconnect ones, so that'll be good. For the arcade stick itself, I think I saw another video that mentioned in these pictures on the listing this would need to be soldered and resoldered. That looks like it is maybe true, although it's kind of a rat's nest of cables. You might be able to get away with just unplugging this and swapping it out, which looks like that might be true. I don't know if that's a standard connector. I've not taken apart many other arcade sticks like this, but you might have to desolder these or resolder new cables for a different arcade stick. Alternatively, if you just wanted to change the stick itself and not the micro switches themselves, which are just under here. Yeah. Get my nose down in here to see a little better, but you could swap out these, but you could just loosen this and change out the arcade stick itself. That is a spring on there. You could change that to a different style arcade stick, but that pretty much does it. Like I said, it's a very meaty arcade stick. This bottom plate has several steel plates in here, it looks like. It's either 2 very thick ones or 4 very thin ones bolted in here, and that's what gives it all of its weight. It's very heavy, which is good, I think. This is quite light. This is about the weight you would expect a cheaper arcade stick to be. The plastic is very rigid though, even though I've taken it apart, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and put this bad boy back together. And there you have it. Pretty good little arcade stick. I quite enjoy it for Magical Drop, and I think it'll work pretty well with other games. I was playing Pokemon with it the other night. Worked well enough. It does weigh quite a bit, like I said, thanks to those steel plates on the inside. If I can get a tape measure here, I'll tell you how big it is. It is a big boy, as you can see. It's about a little under a foot across. It's 11 inches and 3/4 by about almost 8 inches, 8 inches and 7/8. Sorry about you metric guys, my tape measure doesn't read in that, and I can't do conversions on the fly. As you may have noticed earlier, it kind of dwarfs the Switch itself in comparison, so it is a big boy. Thanks for watching.